I'm Alex Howard.
And I'm Amanda Silver, and this is Dirty Laundry.
So on today's episode, we interview MP from Hamilton, Lisa Hepfner, who is making some big changes to our family court, to our Divorce Act. Yeah.
And she has a bill called Bill C-223, which is the Keeping Children Safe Act. It's in process of being passed into legislation, which is so important. And we're here to talk to her all about her bill.
Yes, because it is about putting kids first. It's prioritizing the children's voice over the parental rights. Because there has been, and we talk about this a little bit in the episode, but just to bring it back so that we can really reinforce, there has been a shift in the last, 20 years? I was going to say 20, 25 years? Yeah. Where parental rights, and more specifically, father's rights, were being prioritized. And they superseded the rights of certainly the moms, but also of the children.
The safety of the children. They're now, it's gotten to a point where it's monopolized. This equal shared parenting, equal rights has monopolized the system, in that it doesn't matter if a parent is abusive. It doesn't matter if there's allegations. And in fact, if there are allegations, it's worse for the victim. And that is all about to change. Yeah. And so this bill prevents children from being treated like property, right? We're half and half. It's not how it works. It's going to finally let children's voices be heard, because they're not. And it's such a process to get a child's voice. I feel like it is. They're not being represented, and they're not. And even if they are heard, they're not being listened to.
Exactly.
This whole they have a voice and not a choice. Yeah. Maybe it's time to give them a choice and listen to them, right? Obviously,
or if you have a voice, it should be heard. Right. And I think that's one thing that MP Hepfner says is a part of her bill are the judges having confidential conversations with the children.
To me, this is huge. And maybe even with the parents as well.
Of having it off the record, you mean confidential? I know that the court is a public system and public record, but why does that trump?
Exactly.
Why does your neighbors and colleagues knowing the ins and outs of your divorce trump your safety or your children's safety?
Victim safety is not being prioritized, and now that is hopefully going to change.
Yes.
Part of a victim sharing their story is feeling safe and not feeling that there's going to be repercussions to themselves or to their children. Yeah. And so this will offer a space for that, which to me is huge. Imagine if you can speak your truth and not worry that there's going to be repercussions.
Right? Especially as kids, they're always worried about what consequence is going to happen.
Yeah, they don't want they want to please both parents. Yeah. That's just the nature of being a child, and it's so sad that they even have to worry about that one of their parents is not is going to be not love them
or not be in their life.
Not be in their life. Exactly, they shouldn't be given that.
And I think that's where the distinction is they're not meant to decide, obviously, the divorce proceedings, but they are, or they should be, given an opportunity to go, well, so-and-so does this to me and I don't like it. And it's, maybe don't have the language to say I'm being abused.
Right.
But we need to hear it.
I also feel like if a teacher were to do something to a child, touch a child, hit a child, whatever, they would be charged with something,
criminal
right?
activity,
exactly.
For sure.
Or if the person on the street were to smack you in the face, they're being charged with assault. But if it's a partner or a parent, well, I don't know.
It's giving what happens in the family home.
So
it's none of our business.
Yes.
So old school.
So old school, where a woman would have to hide her bruises and everything can be.
Or her husband could rape her whenever he wanted. That was part of your marriage.
Part of your wife's
Happy wedding day.
Yes, exactly. And so
we think we've moved so far from that.
But we have not.
But the system has not.
It's just blanketed as something else.
Yeah.
As, okay, so maybe it's the best interest, but is that actually being followed through?
Exactly.
And this is going to make sure, or it's going to be the first step in making sure that it is.
Yeah. So let's get to our episode. Let's talk to Lisa. There's a big call to action as well.
Yes.
So do listen straight till the end. Please check out our show notes because we are going to include all kinds of resources. We cannot tell you folks enough how important this is. And if you have any ability to spread the word, please do so.
Sign the petition, go to the NAL website, speak to your MPs, and check out the episode.
Okay, well, let's dive in because you're a busy beaver and we got lots to talk about today because you are making changes and changes that are so necessary. Amanda and I, as family mediators, we see so much of what you're describing and just the absolute, I don't know, I don't even have the words. Jump in here,
it's
please.
Like a lawlessness almost that's happened in the system where, that we're, once it was, fighting for fathers' rights and fathers didn't have rights. And the pendulum has swung so far that now the victims of domestic violence, the children, are being, in fact, not just not protected, but put in harm's way.
Re-victimized,
in order to prioritize, parental equity or father's rights, really. And so,
it's like the family court system is being turned against the victims of domestic violence, and abusive men are using it, to continue their abuse of their partners, and they're using their children in many cases to exert power over their former partners, because just because you leave an abusive relationship doesn't mean the abuse stops.
Yeah, it's a real weaponization of the family court system.
And they're allowing it.
And
that's the problem.
The system is set up to continue this re-victimization and continue the abuse.
And the problem is that because this has been the norm in the court now for a couple of decades, it's jurisprudence. And the only way to change it is to change the law.
Yes. And that is where you come in and what you're doing. So let's just go back a little bit to talk about how we got here. So what has happened to get us to needing to make this change? You've met
like
with,
you say, there's so many victims. I mean, coming forward, while I was writing this legislation, so many people were coming and wanting to tell me their stories. I didn't have time to talk to them all. It's really so widespread. It was about a year ago when I first heard about this problem. The National Association of Women in the Law has been working on it now for years because they've seen this happen. I was parliamentary secretary to the Minister for Women and Gender Equality. So they met with me, brought me all of these victims, women who hadn't seen their children for years, children who had been ripped away from their protective parent, sent across the border to the United States for some bizarro reunification therapy that was really like brainwashing. It reminds me of the conversion therapy that we outlawed in this chamber in 2021.
Just talking about that.
And I was horrified. I brought them all to a study that we were doing at the Status of Women Committee on coercive control, because to me, this is all part of coercive control in relationships, right? And so they all testified. They're all on the record. But then, you have a report and the changes aren't really made. And then I won the private members bill lottery, because it really is a lottery here on Parliament Hill. They draw every name. 343 MPs get drawn out of a box to see the order of precedence for private members bills. And I'm number 4.
Wow.
Which means it's already gone through first reading, within a couple of weeks of the House starting up again in the fall session. We've already started second reading of the bill. You can see all of this on Parleview. I did a 15-minute speech, and colleagues did speeches as well, and we talked about this bill. And coming up on January 27th will be the second hour of second reading. I believe after that, then the House will vote on whether to send it to committee. So it's really important at this stage that we spread the word about how important this legislation is, and people reach out to their MP to say, please support this legislation. We want to see it move forward in the House of Commons. We want to see this pass. And because I'm so early on the order of precedence, it's a real possibility that we can pass this legislation and make these changes in family court.
This is incredible. So listeners, please reach out, email your MPs, spread the word. This is so important.
This is really
this is life-changing.
Children's lives really do depend on this.
Women
too.
Yeah.
And children are reaching out to me, guys. Like, it makes me cry all the time. But children who have been abused by their fathers for years are reaching out to say thank you for giving me a voice, because that's what this bill is about. It's about, let's listen to our children. Not every child is best off with both parents in their life. In many cases, sure, have a joint custody situation. But in situations where there's abuse or even allegations of abuse, let's listen to those victims. Let's listen to the children, because right now the courts aren't doing that.
No.
In fact, it is a liability to disclose domestic violence right now in family court. How crazy is that?
It's wild.
If you disclose family violence, you are more likely to lose your children.
Hey, Amanda, sometimes when we're talking about divorce, I actually get messages from listeners who are mediators themselves asking how we manage to build our practices without losing our marbles.
I do too. They're like, how do you get clients? What do you even put in a separation agreement? How do you set up and manage your socials?
Yeah, and honestly, we really fumbled through it all, which is why we created the Mediators Launchpad. It gives new mediators a roadmap, essentially, so they don't have to figure it out by trial and error.
Templates, coaching, real world advice, even a community to lean on. Basically everything we wish we'd had starting out.
So if you're a mediator thinking about launching or growing your practice, check us out at themediatorslaunchpad.com and learn from our mistakes, not your own.
And that way you can focus on helping people through tough times instead of stressing out over your own business setup. How has it gotten to this extreme where we always know there's always been systemic issues with not believing women. That's been the case since the beginning of time, right? That's not changed. But how has it become this where now women are being punished and villainized for making allegations of domestic violence? Like, how
I think you were
happened?
exactly right when you said it started with this fathers' rights movement where fathers were like, well, what about me? I have a right to my child. I got that question in the House of Commons. I was like, I don't think it should be about fairness for the parents. It should be about what's best for the child.
Yes.
But because for the 20 years, we've been so worried about fathers' rights and giving everyone access, like children are property that must be split equally in a divorce, that the jurisprudence has gone that way. And so courts look at other cases, right? That's what judges do.
Right.
What happens? As soon as someone is labeled an alienator, they try and repair the relationship with the parent that might be, for a very good reason, estranged from their child.
Yeah.
And they're forcing these sort of what they're called custody reversals. These are still happening, right?
All the time.
All the time. You were talking about it. I had some more questions about a woman in Hamilton who had, I believe, a custody reversal of her 9-year-old daughter. And her 9-year-old daughter was taken away by force. How is that happening?
It's happening all the time because, like I say, courts are, the priority seems to be repairing the relationship with the parent that may be estranged from the child and making sure that each parent has equal access or some access to the child. But like in cases like that, and those were the same cases that we heard at committee, the victims who came forward, they weren't allowed to talk to their children for years. It was the non-preferred parent who is given the authority on everything, including when the mother could speak to their child again. They weren't allowed to send Christmas presents. They weren't allowed to send birthday cards. Can you imagine as a parent what that must be like?
It's to me, this country has such a dark history of taking children away from their parents. Have we learned nothing from the residential schools?
I will say it's not just this country. It's all over the world this is happening. The United Nations Special Rapporteur on Violence Against Women and Girls wrote about this in the last couple of years and recommended that all countries put in laws to ban accusations of parental alienation being the catalyst for reversals in custody. It's happening everywhere. In the United States, it's by state. It's not a federal responsibility. Right. Several U.S. states have already brought in measures to prevent this reunification therapy, like being sent somewhere, forced into these weird situations. And so the problem is all of this has become a cottage industry of people who are making a ton of money off parental alienation accasions. And because these 5 or 6 states have banned it, they're all coming to Canada.
Oh my God,
we're seeing a special explosion of it here because the industry is still thriving here.
Oh, it's horrible. So we talk a lot in our practices and in the work that we do about best interest of child. Is that just performative, in your opinion, as it stands right now?
As it stands right now, yes, I would say that. I don't think the courts are doing that. I mean, so many examples I have of children who said, I wrote a letter. Why didn't anybody read my letter?
Right.
Why wasn't I heard? Why couldn't I express to the courts what how I felt about this living situation? Sometimes It's a problem where children are afraid to talk if they think that what they say will get back to one parent or both parents.
Yeah.
So in the bill, we've laid out a measure where a judge or a justice of the peace could speak to the child behind closed doors without that information getting back to the parent.
That's amazing.
So they can make a decision without disclosing the reason behind it. That is terrifying the proponents of parental alienation.
It's also, I just can't believe that was not standard practice, right? We have Voice of Child, we have Section 30s, we do all of these. Again, this is why I ask about the performative nature of it, because to me, if I was a judge and I can see these parents sort of battling and there's conflicting stories, there's maybe not allegations, but certainly hints of some sort of abuse or coercive control, or the first thing I would want to do is talk to the kids. These are the people that are living this life. And yet your bill is now proposing this as a novel concept.
And a confidential one, because this is the only, my understanding is this is the only process where a child's voice can be heard and not actually shared with the parent. Because even in
everything else is public.
A child protection file, it's all shared, okay? The Section 30 assessments or the Section 112s, everything that they say is disclosed to both sides. But here, this is the first time where a child can speak without fear of repercussion.
Truly safely.
And truly safely. And to me, I don't think there's anything like that exists.
I have a good friend who's has a family law practice, and this was something that she brought to me. So this was something that we added because she's like, this is the big problem. We're not listening to the children, and the children in many cases are afraid to disclose how they really feel. But we have to listen to children. The United Nations Charter on the Rights, I'm not saying but it's the rights of the child. Canada has signed on to it. It says if a child is old enough to have an opinion, you have to listen to that opinion. They are people.
It needs to carry some weight, and it really hasn't. And you're right, this whole idea about children being property is all I can see in these battles. And it's more a fight of like, no, this is mine, and therefore I have rights to it. It's like, well, sorry, that's not actually the case in families.
Maybe if you're beating up your wife in front of your child, you're not a good parent, and you shouldn't have access to your child.
And so until recently, if there was situations where that was happening, it didn't matter, right? It wasn't a part of the parenting decisions. It didn't really apply in the court where there was a history of violence. Now they have to at least look into it a little bit more, my understanding is, domestic violence. But it's not where it needs to be, which is why we need this bill.
It's not working the way it is.
No.
Like I say, domestic violence is treated as an aggravating factor in child custody cases. So it works against you. And people are being advised. We heard from the Ottawa police at committee that people are being advised not to disclose domestic violence because they may lose their children.
And why is that? So that's because they believe that they're making false allegations.
Because they will be labeled alienators, and the courts will try and repair the relationship with the other parent.
So the priority is the repair, not the safety.
Even if there's abuse, even if there's physical, emotional, sexual, any type, financial, there's allegations, there's history, even still.
Exactly.
And that's
women
terrifying.
are staying in abusive relationships in order to protect their children.
It is so heartbreaking.
And that needs to change.
It needs to change.
And that's where you come in. And how did you come to this bill? How did this come to fruition?
So it started with National Association of Women in the Law. We call them NAL. It's a really important feminist organization that works on making sure that we see women in the laws that we create here on Parliament Hill. And so when I won the PMB lottery, I went back to NAL. I'm like, okay, I have a platform now. I can actually make changes to the Divorce Act. So they were thrilled. They'd already been working on a piece of legislation that would work. So I took that with my family law friends, and we worked on it all summer long. Like I said, talking to victims the whole time. And then, as soon as Parliament came back, it was first reading and then second reading. So we're trundling along. It's moving, and this could really happen.
So you have family law lawyers and people in that world that are supporting. What about the reaction from the bench? Like, are the judges getting on board with this? Have you had any interactions with any of them to understand their mind frame?
Good question. No, I don't know if judges are particularly vocal about legislation that's being proposed because their job is to implement the laws that we create here on Parliament Hill.
Fair.
The backlash is coming from the men's rights group.
Yeah.
Sure.
Fair.
It's coming from the people who make money and
Yeah.
who, you know, have won back their children through
Yeah.
parental alienation allegations. So
Yeah.
that's, and, you know, we have to be very wary of that narrative because even when I presented my, you know, when I was doing my debate on the second reading, the questions in the debate were all about what about my rights? What about the men? What
Yeah.
about equal access?
This is giving not all men
this is-
vibes.
And there's, like you said, there's a time and a place. Like in our practice, we do all types of family mediation, different parenting plans. There is a time and a place for shared parenting. There certainly is, and
Absolutely.
it can be appropriate in certain cases. But I think when you've reached the
Absolutely.
level of domestic violence, court involvement, it's likely not appropriate. And so, this presumption of shared parenting is a big problem because it has given abusers the right to say that, well, it's my right to have equal time. And how, and how does this bill sort of, go against that?
I absolutely agree with you. And the bill spells out specifically that line. There should be no presumption of shared
Yes.
parenting. Every case, it should be about what is best for the child.
Yeah. And so previously, why weren't allegations or accusations being investigated? Is there not enough resources within the courts? Were they just not taking them seriously? Again, I know we've already touched on parental alienation. I'm trying to word this in a different way because I'm trying to get to a different answer, a different question. But let's talk about the actual system in terms of, do we have the resources to actually execute on the changes your bill is proposing?
It's actually a good question because my bill asks that people who are involved in divorce proceedings really investigate any accusations or any history of coercive control and family violence. And I'm not sure that lawyers and judges and everybody else has the experience or the wherewithal to be able to do all that, honestly.
Right.
But let's get there.
Let's get there.
I think
that's a good problem to have.
putting it in the law,
Yes.
then we're going to have to get there.
We'll have to figure it
to
out.
figure out those
I'm not saying my bill is perfect. I wrote it with my, family law friends with help from legislative, people here. But it'll go to committee, it'll go to the Justice Committee, and they'll parse every word and it'll be fine-tuned. But, my goal is that these key factors in the bill remain there, that children are not property, that shared parenting isn't the starting base or the ultimate goal necessarily, that you can't use parental alienation accusations to reverse custody, that you can't force people into therapy that they don't want to go to and force the mother to pay for it and make her bankrupt at the same time as you're taking away her children. You have to, reunification therapy, fine, if everyone agrees.
Right.
That is the standard. You have to, it has to be informed consent before you can prescribe reunification therapy. So I think, I don't know if I've kind of gone off track.
No,
from
you're perfect.
I
It's
have a
great.
question about.
We're so fired up.
Yeah,
so
we work so much. I have a
I
question.
am too. I'm passionate about this bill. I'm really.
Can we come? Can we come to the
so
reading? I'm like,
grateful
is
that you are.
public?
Yeah. Well,
I know.
no. This is so.
It's just so important and so needed, and it's going to be so, when this gets passed, it's going to change. It's going to change the landscape here, because now that precedent, that jurisprudence is no longer going to be taken into account. It's going to be a whole new playing field.
New laws that they have to follow.
So
They have to
start fresh.
Start fresh.
Yeah.
So those first judges who are going to be they're the ones who are going to be then laying the groundwork for the following.
New
and
precedents.
That's going to be an interesting, thing to see.
Absolutely. I was a journalist in my past life for 25 years, and I spent a lot of those years in courtrooms, primarily criminal court, but it gives me a lot of insight into what victims go through.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Well, and it's so interesting too, because in criminal court, you are given a public defender, right? in family court, it's like there's been criminal activities and yet you're either self-repped because you can't afford it, or you're giving all of your money to a lawyer in hopes that maybe you'll have kids at the end of the proceedings. Like, it's just so, go.
And I would add that if there's a criminal proceeding at the same time as there's a divorce proceeding, the judges in the divorce court don't look at the criminal court.
It's insane.
No.
They, the husband could be facing charges of assault, including sexual assault, including child assault, and it won't be a factor in the divorce proceeding.
And then
the custody arrangement.
And it's so absurd that you can be an abusive parent, female or male, and then have no impact on your ability. You can abuse the other parent, assault the other parent, but then have total equal rights to the children. And the understanding is, well, you did it to the parent, so you're not going to do it to the children. And
I hate this whole rhetoric about, well, no, you've never hurt the children, so you're a good dad.
It's only a matter of time.
Meanwhile, you're beating up and abusing their mom. That does not a good dad make.
No.
You don't harm the other parent. It's so
Mickey Mouse.
Like, this is insane to me.
It's just so against common sense. Yeah. It's just, that's what it is. There's just no common sense here. Like, I feel like there's such a fear from maybe the court system of going against these fathers groups or looking like they are being one-sided. Yeah, that they've gone. I don't
think it's fear. I think it really is the jurisprudence. They follow what's happened in court before, and that's how our courts are set up. And
so until there's change,
the only way to change it is change the law. Yeah. And this is why I spell everything out very clearly. Children are not property.
Yeah,
shared parenting should not be the base or necessarily the ultimate goal.
Yeah. And what about things like, and it's again performative, these are thrown around all of the time, but trauma informed, judges or lawyers, like, are there actual trainings for this? Is this part of your bill where they need to have a better understanding about family dynamics and coercive control and abuse and is that part of it, or is that just something on the side we need to be changing as well?
In the last parliament, some close friends of mine passed Kira's law.
Yes.
I don't know if you've heard of it.
We're familiar.
So you know the story of Kira.
We do.
She could have been saved by my legislation, right?
Breaking.
Her mother told the courts she is not safe in her father's hands. The courts prioritized equal access, so he was able to take his daughter without supervision for a weekend and jumped off a cliff with her. So, that broke my heart as a journalist. I remember it so clearly. Yeah. And when it came up in Parliament, what a story. And so that bill asked judges to be trained on coercive control and family violence, but it can't force the judges to undergo this training. However, my family law friends say there have been improvements in courts since that law has been passed. My bill goes further. Great. So we've already done that step. Mm-hmm. My bill goes further in changing the law and laying out more specifically how judges should view cases of custody disputes.
That's so great.
And preventing them from those dangerous custody reversals, or, it becomes like punitive, where if there's an allegation made against a parent and then it's the defense is parental alienation, and then the other parent gets, punished for it, right? And that seems to be the loop that happens, and that has to stop.
I just wish, like in this Kira's Law example, that after this tragic, horrific, avoidable incident, that there was some kind of recourse where you could go back and go, okay, we missed something here. Who is responsible for this, right? And again, I'm not suggesting that we're blaming the judges, but how are there no checks and balances? And how is there no, we're so keen in our courts for precedents and jurisprudence, and fine, but why not then have some kind of equally important precedent of
to prevent it from happening,
right? If we're so keen for precedent, why can't we stop it when there is a tragedy so egregious that clearly it demonstrates that things need to change, and yet, oopsies, moving right along.
We'll try not to do that again. That sort of I don't know. Is there something that we're maybe
Where's
not
the
aware of. Where
recourse?
is the who's taking the blame for that one?
Changes are difficult to make in our society.
So frustrating.
We are a rule of law country, and I value that, and it's important. But you know, I have the power to do something about it where I am right now in Parliament as a lawmaker, and I'm gonna do something about it.
And we're so grateful that you are, because definitely change needs to happen.
Yeah. And how does it work? You have your second part of your second reading, and then what's the next step for getting it passed?
Don't quote me because this is complicated.
Okay. I'm trying to understand the first, second, all the readings, and yes.
I'm still learning.
Yeah.
I believe after we have our second hour of second reading, which is January 27th, we will vote. Parliament will vote on my bill. If it passes, it will go to committee. Justice Committee will go through it and study it. After that, it will also go to the Senate. So I'll need a sponsor in the Senate, and the Senate will study the bill. And at some point, it'll come back to the House for third reading. If it passes third reading, it becomes law.
Wow.
So I'm still working really on talking to, if you know, senators, talk to them, let them know about the bill. I'm just doing everything I can, because it sounds crazy. And when you first start talking about this with people, I'm doing this bill because these things are happening, people don't believe me. It sounds crazy that this is happening in our country. So it's really a big exercise right now in spreading the word and letting people know how messed up our court system is, our family court system is right now.
I'm just so interested to see the shift, because I am very optimistic, and I'm putting all of my energies out to the universe that this gets passed and this becomes new law, and we're going to hopefully see a shift. But all of this talk of precedents has me so worried about those first individual cases that are going to come through.
Because they're going to be watched.
Well, there's no precedents anymore, right?
There's
no more precedents. And so which judge gets which file? I mean, it's just... There's still so much left up in the air.
It's true. And what lawyers will be debating it. And because the forces that work against us, the men's rights groups and all, they will try and find ways to use this against us also.
And they've got some money, right? I presume there's lobbyists that are going to be fighting this when it goes to the House.
Well, there's a lot of money in
the House.
In the House. I think there's also money in representing abusers, right? And there's so many of them. We know the stats are there. So there are people who are going to be hired to represent them and have a real vested interest in keeping the things going the way they have been. How do you combat that? How do you combat the fathers' rights groups or the people who have financial incentives to go against your bill?
Well, I'm elected to be in this position and pass the bill. They will have an opportunity to have their say at committee as well, and they can have their input. My hope is that the stronger voices prevail and that we can protect women and people who are abused through this process. But yeah, like I say, we heard it at committee over and over again. It's a cottage industry. People are making a lot of money off of this. The same people who are making money off it are advising the judges that reunification therapy is needed in every situation. So it's a vicious circle, and they will be out, guns a-blazing, and they will try and tear it down. But all they can do is offer opinion. I have a lot more power.
Yeah, good.
And thank goodness that you do.
Yeah, you do. It's so interesting that these sort of men's groups or these voices are the ones informing the judges. Like, that needs to shift of what voice is the loudest, as you said, that's in their ear.
Well, that goes back to your patriarchy, right?
They don't listen to women.
Right? They don't listen to it. They don't. Clearly not.
Yeah.
Clearly not. Women and children, and they group together, are not listened to.
Because we'll do anything
We're
for
not
our
believed.
kids.
We're not believed. Women are not believed. Yeah, exactly. It's like that Me Too movement didn't cross over into family court, did it? It's like Me Too unless you're in family court.
Yeah.
It's true. And there are lines in my bill that confront these myths about family violence, things like that. You have to listen to people. You have to listen to women, and you have to listen to the children.
Are we taking the voices of any therapists, counselors, psychiatrists, psychologists about the actual mental impact, mental health, and all, like we're
trauma that is being imposed on these children, taking them away, putting them into a an institution essentially to
It's an excellent point. And so like in a lot of the cases I've heard, there's been no intervention with the children for years, no intervention by child protection authorities, no intervention by the Office of the Children's Lawyer, no intervention, no interviews by any therapist for years. And then suddenly the custodies are reversed and the child is sent off to live with a parent who is not the protective parent or the preferred parent.
I just think there's law, and as you said, we live in a country and we are law-abiding citizens, and that's a good thing. We have good human rights, et cetera, et cetera. But
not children's we're a children's human rights ball here.
Yeah. And
like
I'm just surprised that the lawyers and the law is outweighing any sort of child advocates and women's advocates and anti-violent advocates. Like, it seems to me that, and again, obviously my whole thing is always about the patriarchy and misogyny and all of that. But yeah, it seems like law even is trumping, I don't know,
safety, human rights. Your basic
concrete examples of how misogyny and the patriarchy have influence over our lives.
And our children.
I know, I'm like stumbling so much over my words today because I'm just so dumbfounded.
This is acceptable.
Yeah.
That this isn't somehow, this is acceptable, and it's been happening over and over and over again.
Until now.
Yes, until
MP Hepfner is on it. And she's changing our laws, and we're so proud.
We're here for it, and we want to help you and support you. So like you said, our listeners, what is the call to action? Call your MPs, email your MPs.
Yeah, this is what I'm here for. Spread the word. Yeah. I think we should get a petition going. I can present a petition here on the Hill, sign a petition. Go to NAWL's webpage, the National Association of Women in the Law, NAWL. They have, you can sign up to say that you support this legislation, but call your local MP because they're the ones that are actually going to vote on this legislation.
And how many votes do you need for it to pass?
I need more. I need half.
Half. Yeah. Well, yes. I was wondering in terms of numbers, like how many are voting.
Don't look at me.
What that looks like in terms
of do the math now. It's 343 MPs.
Okay.
Ooh, okay.
All right. We're gonna.
But the Liberals are on side. So we've got my team. There's 170 of us. So
That's
it's
wonderful.
more about like, can we get the Black Québécois to support?
Right.
I think they will support to go to committee. The NDP, I hope will support to go to committee. So that should be enough votes to get us to committee.
Yeah, this seems like a real nonpartisan.
I don't know about the Conservatives. You should have a look at their debate after my bill. Okay. They haven't decided yet if they're going to support it. So they just talked about other things.
This should be, like you said, this should be a nonpartisan.
Absolutely nothing to do with politics.
This should not be a political issue.
I know that that's how our system is set up.
Keeping children safe, it cannot be political. And unfortunately, it is. Yeah.
And that's why the bill is called the Keeping Children Safe Act. Who can be opposed to that?
Right?
I mean, it's just
somebody very evil is opposed to that. Well named. Thank you so much for your time. Yes. We are beyond grateful, not only for sharing all of this with us, but for all the work you're doing.
This is why I'm here. I'm here to make life better for Canadians and particularly Canadian women. And I really appreciate the chance to talk to you and let you know more about my bill. I'm passionate about it. I'm very invested in seeing it pass and getting our family law changed in this country.
Yes. Thank you, Lisa. Yes. And please let us know if there's anything we can do. We can share with our listeners and share on our platforms. Anything, be in touch. Thank you so much. And break a leg, break them all. We are so fired up. So go get them.
And please come back when this passes. I want to see this in action. I want to see the first endorsements that come out with this. I mean, it's going to happen.
It's huge.
So
thank you so much.
I agree.
Thank you so much.
Thank you again. Thank you very much.
Take care.
This episode was written and created by Alex Howard and Amanda Silver. Produced, edited, and engineered by RTF Productions. Make sure to rate and review our show if you loved it, and give us a follow on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you stream your podcast to stay up to date on all upcoming episodes. Thanks for listening, and go easy on us. We're not your ex.